In war, resolution. In defeat, defiance. In victory, magnanimity. In peace, goodwill. Winston Churchill.
History's verdict.
The news from France is very bad.
The news from France is very bad.
And I grieve the gallant French people who have fallen.
With not a little understatement, on June the 18th, 1940, Winston Churchill addressed a tense and fearful island nation. France's government had fallen, and the new Vichy-based administration of Marshal Pétain had decided to sue for peace. Even now, Hitler and his ally, Italy's Benito Mussolini, were discussing the terms of surrender. Churchill faced a catastrophe, and the future of Britain looked bleak. 5 weeks earlier, on the 13th of May, 3 days after his hasty appointment as Prime Minister, Churchill had offered his nation,
I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat.
That very day, Hitler's new war machine tore simultaneously through Holland, Belgium, Luxembourg, and northern France in a lightning sweep. But then, though events had been critical, Churchill had more than rhetorical or literal bodily fluids to shed for his country. He had at least the comfort of a strong alliance of two of the world's greatest military powers. And he had the seemingly invincible British Navy. Then there had been no doubt of his intent, and it had still appeared realistic. You ask, what is our aim? I can answer in one word. Victory. Victory. At all costs, victory. For without victory, there is no survival.
Demoralize the enemy from within by surprise, terror, sabotage, assassination. This is the war of the future. Heinrich Himmler.
Heinrich Himmler, Reichsführer and head of the SS, was perhaps the second most contented man in Nazi Germany. After all, from an inconspicuous beginning, he now held more power than any other German, except, of course, for the Führer himself. His role extended into the realms of cultural, economic, civil and military life, and his influence was all-pervasive. He had not only amassed under his control the awesome might of the fanatical Waffen-SS and infamous Einsatzgruppen divisions, but he now also directed all police responsibilities, including those of the Gestapo, Germany's notorious secret police. As settlement commissar for the strengthening of the German people, he had jurisdiction over the repatriation of ethnic Germans, as well as the removal of what he saw as the more harmful elements of the population. His SS engaged in both agricultural and industrial enterprises and oversaw the concentration camp system, providing a virtually endless supply of slave labor. The Reichsführer also commissioned many other organizations to engage in medical, archaeological, and scientific research in an attempt to evidentially underpin Nazi ideas about race and even to indulge his own personal idiosyncrasies and boyhood fantasies. Nevertheless, it is testament to Himmler's determination and skill that he was able to thrive in the grim reality of the Nazi government and now wield such vast power. For it had not always been the case.
In the Soviet army, it takes more courage to retreat than advance. Joseph Stalin.
June 22nd, 1941.
In a grimly ironic parallel to his own tactic of having his victims arrested by surprise at their most vulnerable in the middle of the night, Joseph Stalin, the all-powerful dictator of the Soviet Union, was awakened in his dacha outside Moscow in the early hours of June the 22nd, 1941, to receive the worst news of his life. Nazi air and artillery forces were attacking along the entire border of the USSR in a prelude to a gigantic invasion. Hitler's Operation Barbarossa, the most massive military operation in history, had begun. Like the shocked people his secret police dragged from their beds, Stalin could not believe what he was hearing. Perhaps, he rather pathetically claimed, these attacks were merely a provocation, a Nazi trick to tempt him into taking action, breaking his 1939 non-aggression pact with the Third Reich and giving Hitler an excuse to go to war. But this was the war he so wished to avoid, and war on a scale the world had never seen before. By daylight, more than 3 million Nazi troops, backed by another 500,000 soldiers from Allied nations, were overrunning Stalin's Red Army and conquering huge swathes of territory.